Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Trina Martin, also known as the Queen of Equality in Tech, is a technologist, international speaker, best-selling author, podcast host, and the CEO and founder of Trina Martin International. A retired U.S. naval officer, an experienced computer programmer, and cyber professional, Trina spent over 2 decades in the tech industry. Now, she uses her voice, knowledge, and experience to advocate for and coach women of color in tech so they can represent as leaders in the tech industry. Trina also serves as one of Google's Women Tech Makers Ambassadors. Trina is the author of the book From a Mess to Amazing, 7 Steps to Create the Life You Deserve, co-author of the book Make It Happen, and the host of the top-rated podcast, Trina Talk. Trina has spoken at global tech conferences and companies about hiring, retaining, and promoting women in tech. As a speaker, she uses her experiences to motivate, inspire, and transform audiences. If you're ready to electrify your audience, leave them wanting more, and move them to higher heights, then Trina Martin is your only option.
Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast. This is your host, Coach Busy. I have a very special guest for you today. And before I bring her on board, I'm reminded of our moment of gratitude, something we do every time we meet. Part of the reason is because in the military, it's about 21, 22 service member and veteran commit suicide every single day in this country. So I believe it's not possible to be suicidal and be grateful at the same time. So I really would like for you to just think about one thing that you are grateful for in this very moment. What are you grateful for right now? So this is the third show we've recorded today. From the 2 previous shows, you know that I've really been grateful for freedom since about June 10th of this year, right? And I believe that's really what America represents: the home of the brave, the land of the free. There is nothing in my understanding more important than freedom. So let us know in the comment what you are grateful for. Let us also know where you are joining us from, what city, what state, and if you are coming from outside of the US, which country. And also, if you have a question for my guest today, type it in the comment. So let me see if I can properly introduce our guest today. I am really overjoyed, excited, and honored to welcome Trina to the Leadership and Success Podcast today. Lieutenant Commander Trina Martin retired from the U.S. Navy, has had a journey of service, transformation, technology, resilience, and leadership beyond position or rank. After a distinguished career in the U.S. Navy, she has continued her mission as a technology and cybersecurity leader, entrepreneur, international speaker, executive coach, author, and host of the Trina Talk podcast. What makes this conversation especially meaningful is the opportunity for two shipmates to talk about what happens when leadership moves beyond the uniform and the title. Trina has captured that journey through two books that provide a powerful framework for our conversation today. From a mess to amazing, 7 steps to create the life you deserve, and also beyond the title, redefining what it means to lead. And part of what you're going to be learning today is why leadership begins with self leadership. Before we can effectively lead others, we must be willing to examine ourselves, change our mindset, go and take responsibility for the person we are becoming. But also, how leaders create legacy. Title eventually disappear, rank eventually comes off the color. Like my mentor told me, rank is rented, but trust is earned. What remains is the impact we made on the people entrusted to our leadership. So, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast, the one and only Commander Trina Martin.
Thank you,
Good afternoon,
BZ.
Commander. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. What a great joy and honor to finally have you here. Maybe, is there something that you are grateful for today?
Ooh, I am grateful for life, just all of my life, everything that has brought me to this point in my life, good, bad, everything.
Wow. Now, some people might find it strange. They understand that you are thankful for good things, but what would you be thankful for? Things that challenge you throughout your life.
Oh, what challenges am I thankful for?
Mhm.
Actually, I think all of them. I've thought about this several times, and there's there was a point in my life where I was like, "Oh man, I made this mistake, I made that mistake. I regret it." But now I don't regret any of that because I know, I'm grounded in my faith and I know nothing is wasted.
Wow.
So there's a lesson to every difficulty, every mistake, and I've
Yes.
matured enough to understand that. So I'm grateful for it all.
Wow, that's really a beautiful way to look at life. Because many times on this podcast we talk about leadership and success, but it's always amazing to me how you can have two people. Sometimes they even grew up, in the same household or same environment. Everything else pretty much the same, but they go through similar difficulties and challenges in life, and one of them just thrive and makes it even bigger. They get stronger, and another one pretty much dies. It like cripples the rest of your life. And I wonder, what is the difference? Do you think the mindset, the way you look at life, or uh, interpret it, makes a difference on how you go through it?
Absolutely. I do feel that, and like you said, that's such a great example. You have two people, let's just say, um, they had an alcoholic parent.
Mhm.
One person decides, I never want to drink, and then you have the other person who goes to that other extreme.
Yes.
So I think it is. It's a mindset. It's how you think and what you feel that you're worthy of and what aligns with you is how you take that. So if you have that story of woe it's me, my
Hmm.
parent is this way, so I'm gonna have this issue, then that's what you're creating. But if you're the person who says, you know what, I saw that, I'm better than that, and I'm going to do better, that's what you're creating.
Wow, that's really powerful. So from victim to victor. I I really love that, and that's probably gonna help a lot of people who are listening right now. Before we get into the segment of the show, I wanted to ask: is there something about you that's kind of unique, or most people may not know when they first meet you? Maybe a superpower or activities that you do. Most people just may not know,
Oh, a superpower. Um, I
or
don't think
special
I.
skill.
I don't think I have a superpower. Okay, so here's one thing that I think people don't know about me because I think a lot of times people look at the things I've done and who I am today, but I'm actually an introvert who has taught herself how to be an extrovert.
Wow, you would have fooled me. Man, with
Yeah,
all of your books, speaking and everything you do, you like way, way out there.
yeah, yeah. It you
Wow.
know it It's so funny because growing up, I was very shy, very introverted. And
Mm.
again, I love to speak. I love helping others. but it's one of those things that it's almost like a drug, right? When I'm on stage and I'm speaking or I'm training, I'm teaching, I'm coaching, it's a high for me. I love
Yes.
it. I love it. I love seeing, people, changing, and being impacted. But once I'm done, I come down off that high and I'm so exhausted.
Wow. That's actually a lot of people I have talked to seem to be extrovert, actually introvert. So what kind of thing do you do then to kind of recharge, to refill your tank?
I sleep. I sleep. I recently got a new puppy. Um, he's 6 months old now, so now my time is taken with him. So
Yes.
I'm a fairly recent empty nester, right? So
Mhm.
my I have two children. I have a daughter and a son. My daughter graduated from university this year. My son will be
Hey,
graduating next year. Thank you.
congratulations.
So I got a puppy, and I've been personally training him. So that's
Wow.
where all my time go. He's actually like my third child now. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I guess we had the puppy before both our girls went to college. Our last one just went to college this week. Yeah, it's kind of strange not to have the kids around all the time anymore. I was like, hey, why don't you take the dog with you? But she said no. So we stuck with our little baby dog. But wow, that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. But before we talk about you being a commander in the most powerful navy in the world and best-selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, technology leader, and all of that, who are you at your core? Who is Trina Martin without all of the accolade and the achievement and everything else you've accomplished?
So Trina Martin, without all the accolades, is just simply Trina. I'm a woman who has always believed in learning, growing, and becoming better.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I've turned into that type of person way before becoming the lieutenant commander, the
Uh,
entrepreneur, the coach, the speaker, all of those things. Um, I'm someone who, yeah, I'm very resilient. I'm very determined, and there was a point in my life where I used to walk into rooms and really didn't know my worth. I wondered, like, should I really be here?
hmm.
Um, but life told me that, and it taught me that I did belong. I belonged there.
Yes.
I just needed to recognize that for myself.
Wow.
So when it's all said and done, I'm a woman that is grounded in my faith, integrity, resilience, and growth.
Hmm.
And that's who I am. And
That's
I
powerful.
finally know who I am, and I won't change that.
That is so powerful. What experiences do you think help you get to that mindset? Because I think it is so powerful. So many people, I guess they call it imposter syndrome, right? Especially, just to be frank, America was really meant for white male. That's who this country was created for. So when you are a minority or a person of color and a woman at times, it looks like society almost doesn't see you or they expect you to be less than. Is I guess the question I'm asking is, did you go through something or did something happen or someone inspired you that kind of helped you get this mindset you have now?
I would say someone helped me. I think it's a culmination of
Thanks.
everything that I've been through in life. Like you said, being a woman and being a Black female, that was a big part of it, but
Hmm.
also things that happened in my personal life. My upbringing, I'm the youngest of four children. I grew up with a single mother. I'm from Chicago, and my mother and I didn't have the best relationship. And she was dealing with her own things. And now that I've become older, I kind of understand those.
Hmm.
But all of that formed me and shaped me to who I am today. So it wasn't just one thing; it was a combination of everything, and me actually getting to the point where I was mature enough to kinda look at everything and do my self-evaluation.
Wow, that is really, really inspiring. Yeah, I really do believe that representation matters. It matters a lot. And part of what I'm doing on this platform is to really put the spotlight on members of my network connection, especially on LinkedIn. But I also look for people of color and women because I don't think they are praised enough. And I'm always also looking for like a mentor for my kids. Somebody who looks like them, who's doing something at a high level, like you are, and really just celebrates that. I want you to know I see you, and I'm really, really grateful for what you are doing, and you are really making a huge impact. And hopefully, part of what I am doing here is really helping elevate that. So, if you could maybe take us back to the beginning, what led you to raise your right hand and join the U.S. Navy?
So I have, well, he's now deceased. I have an uncle, my only uncle. He was in Vietnam. He
Mm,
got wounded and he received the
wow.
Purple Heart for saving men in his platoon. I had a great uncle who was a World War II veteran. So service has always been part of my family, and I knew that, but that necessarily wasn't the path that I planned to take.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to college, and because I had to self finance because my mother didn't have means, I got to college and I took out as many loans and as many grants and things like that that I possibly could, but it still wasn't enough. So my issue at the time and my greatest concern was how was I going to pay for my college education, because I was determined I was going to go to college and get a degree. Matter of fact, I'm the first one in my immediate family to go to
Wow.
college. And I have since had nieces and nephews to go to college. And like I said, my children. So
Yes.
I kind of think of myself as setting that example.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to college, my freshman year roommate at the time, she was in the Army Reserves. And she just, knowing what I was going through, she suggested to me, she said, why don't you join the military? She's like, I think you should
Wow.
join the Army. And she was saying, you could get, all these benefits,
Mm-hmm.
things to help you go to school. So I thought about that and I said, I need to do something because I can't
Yes.
do this by myself. So after my freshman year of college, I enlisted in the Army and I went to the Army, and that's how my career got started in the military.
Wow, that is quite amazing. So 1 year into college, you enlisted in the U.S. Army instead of the Navy, and wow!
Hmm.
And I think I have a picture of you way back then.
Yeah, I
Man,
was just a baby.
that's amazing. Knowing what you know now and everything you've accomplished, what would you say to baby uh, uh, Martin? What would you say to her, baby Trina Martin, back then?
Oh my goodness. I would say trust yourself. Trust yourself and know that you're capable, that you belong,
Hmm.
and to seize every opportunity that you have the aspirations for.
Wow, that is powerful, powerful. And I'm just guessing, were you about 17, 18 years old
I
back
was
then?
19.
19, okay. Yeah, I many times I like to say 17 because that's how old I was when I came to this country. I couldn't barely speak English, and I have all of those big dreams, but I had no idea how to go from point A to point B. It all worked out eventually, but man, I just wish I knew what I know now way back then. My life would have been so much different. But like you say, I am grateful for all of the great things that happened in life, but some of those challenges too, because it kind of helped build my character and helped me become the leader I am today. Wow,
Absolutely.
that is really something. So that young Trina who first entered, I guess, the army first and then later the navy. What did she believe success looked like back then?
Oh, I was a baby. I was so young. And like you, if I knew
Yeah.
then what I know now, right?
Yes.
Um, Trina at that time was more focused on the external accomplishments, you
Hmm.
know, um, the career, getting the degree, getting promotions, the rank, getting, being financially independent.
Hmm.
Those things are what I was focused on at that time. Whereas now, my 55-year-old self, I am more focused on peace and freedom and
Mm.
being aligned with who I'm supposed to be and
Yes.
actually impacting others.
Wow. It's really amazing how your definition of success changes. Yeah, because I'm thinking me too. Back then, it was about I just need to survive. I just need to
Right.
make it, just pay my bills and all of that. But once you get this, attain a certain level of success, right? Money doesn't mean anything
No.
anymore. Right? It doesn't matter how many houses and cars or whatever you have. You can only drive one car at a time, sleep in one bed at a time. It's like it pretty much loses its meaning. But you're right. But the impact you have on other people, that is really something that will outlive you. So you experienced the Navy from multiple level of leadership. What did your earliest experiences teach you about the difference between authority and influence?
So I think the Navy is where I learned the difference between authority
Hmm.
and what influence was. So, as you know, authority is authority comes with, the rank, right? So,
Yes.
whatever rank you are, there's authority that comes with it.
Hmm.
Um, Not so much with influence. So, influence to me is how you impact others. So, just because you have authority does not
Yes.
mean you have influence. Authority, you have authority, which means people are, um, they have to comply with what
Hmm.
you're telling them to do. Influence is more of whether your team, an individual trusts you, respects you,
Yes.
are willing to follow you. And those are two very different things. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of time people don't understand that.
Yes.
Um, yeah, just because you have authority doesn't necessarily mean that you are a good leader.
Yes. And who are some of the people who have impacted you the most throughout your career? Maybe a chief, an officer, a mentor, a shipmate, someone who saw leadership potential in you before you fully saw that in yourself.
So I owe this person a very big part of me getting my commission to become an officer. So his name, I remember to this day, his name is Arnie Mayer. If Arnie, if you're out there, I'm giving you this kudos here.
Yes.
He was a shipmate. So at the time I was enlisted, I think I was probably an E4. I think he was like an E6. And I remember being on duty and I had I talked to him. So we had a friendship and I had told him how I wanted to become an officer. And young Trina was very raw, very or wasn't the refined Trina as I am today.
Yes.
And I remember him telling me, he said, I think you'll be a good leader. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. He said, I
Mm.
don't care what you think about it because I'm your friend. I'm going to tell you. And he said, the Navy is looking for leaders who are calm and who know how to be calm and operate like that. He
Mhm.
said, and until you change, you're not going to become an officer. So at that
Wow.
time, I was this person who, like I said, I'm from Chicago, so a little bit of roughness in me. Um, I was I wasn't afraid to speak my mind. So we
Mhm.
all know that's not the wisest thing to do. Wasn't afraid to speak my mind, and actually, my emotions led me, and not to the point of like, oh, I got emotional breaking down, but emotion as far as I would stand on someone's desk to make my point, like, and that's what he was telling me. And when he said that, it really struck a chord with me. It really hit home. And I was like,
Wow.
wow, I was like, man, he actually said that to me. I was like,
Wow.
wow. And I thought about that. And from that moment, I changed. And to this day,
Wow.
30 plus years later, I still think about that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, because you eventually became a lieutenant commander in the most powerful navy in the world. I wonder, was there maybe a moment when you look at yourself and you think through your career, everything you went through, you kind of like, how did I get from where I started to here?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had those moments multiple times, but the most impactful one was when I retired.
Hmm.
Again, I joined the military because I wanted to pay for college.
Yes.
At that time, I had no aspirations of being an officer, definitely didn't have aspirations of going beyond, getting my college education paid for.
Yes.
So I remember retiring and actually taking off my uniform for the last time
Wow.
and getting kind of teary-eyed about it because I thought about it. I said, wow, I'm a lieutenant commander and I've been 30 years in this outfit. I was
Wow.
like, that was over half of my lifetime. Actually,
Yes.
that was all I knew. The military actually raised me basically.
Yes.
So yeah, that was one of those moments
Mm.
where I was like, wow, how did I get from maybe Trina, that picture you showed,
Yes.
to being a lieutenant commander with 30 years of service?
That is just amazing. Wow. From a private all the way up to lieutenant commander, U.S. Navy. No, this is just very inspiring. I guess the follow up question I have is if you could sit beside the young sailor or soldier you once were for 5 minutes, what would Commander Martin tell her?
Mm, yeah, I would just say, enjoy the ride.
Yes. Man, I guess we just never know what tomorrow would bring, do we?
No.
It's wow. So for this next segment, let's talk about going from sailor to leader, from the army to the navy. So what did the navy kind of teach you about leadership that no classroom or leadership book ever could?
Oh, everything. In classrooms and books, they talk about theory, right?
Yes.
The Navy, you get it real life, real time. And one of the most important things I think I learned was the fact that no matter who you were a leader. So you could be that E1 that had the biggest responsibility, right? That was responsible for some equipment that was billions of dollars.
Mm.
Or you could be
Yes.
the commander. It didn't matter. We all were leaders at something. You may not have had the title
Mm-hmm.
or the greatest responsibilities, but the Navy taught you how to be the leader, and that was in
Yes.
real time.
Mm. Powerful. I don't think the army doesn't have petty officer, but we do. And I think for me, going from E3 to E4, that was quite a big move. Of course, not the biggest from E4 all the way up to O1. But throughout your own transition, because you were a senior enlisted, you became a petty officer, and then you became an officer, a commissioned officer. What do you think was one of the hardest transition you had to make as your responsibility increased?
The hardest transition for me, I think once I hit lieutenant commander, because as
Mm.
when you're an ensign and
Yeah.
JG, they really don't expect that much of
Much.
you. They're
Yes.
just like, okay,
Yeah, unless
watch
you do
and learn.
something really, really bad, you're gonna promote. Yes.
Right. They're like, watch and learn. When you make it to lieutenant, things start
Yeah.
to change. And I think it was in between. I think, yeah, it had to be lieutenant commander, maybe lieutenant, because I had some great responsibilities there. But
Yes.
what I learned was that I didn't have to know it all, right?
Mm.
So just like my background, I was used to checking all the boxes, accomplishing things,
Yes.
and I wanted to be that leader that was like, okay, I got to show people I'm capable. I've earned being here,
Mm.
and I know what I'm supposed to know. I know everything. And then one day it hit me. And I was like, you know what? That's not my job. My job is not to know everything. I have
Mm.
people around me. So that's when I started thinking. I was like, I got chiefs. What that's
Yes.
what their job is. Their job is to be my right hand to,
Mm.
help me with those things because I can't be down in the weeds and
Yes.
getting involved in things that I really shouldn't be involved in. So
Mhm.
that's when I started really deferring to my chiefs, and when I was in a joint environment working with, the Marines and the armies, I had
Yes.
in the Army, I had a a E6, so a staff sergeant, sergeant first class start, yeah, who was my right hand then. And
Mhm.
I deferred to them because I was like, this is why they're senior enlisted. This is what they
So
do.
true. So true.
And I think not only did that help me, but it helped them to trust me because they knew that I wasn't one of these officers that just was like barking orders and,
Yes.
you do this, you do this. I really wanted to know their experience,
Mhm.
their expertise, what they had to give, because I think that's a mistake that a lot of leaders make is they think, okay, I have to know everything because I'm the
Mhm.
leader. And they're afraid to say, well, I don't know, or let me defer to someone who does.
Mhm.
And I think that being a leader is knowing that, yes, I have people that I can defer to. I don't have to be the person that know everything. I have to
Mm.
understand and be able to lead and have that knowledge, but I
Yeah.
don't have to be the expert in everything.
That is so powerful. I think that's one of the biggest leadership myth out there. And do you believe that you being prior enlisted help you become a better officer?
I think so. I think so
Yeah.
because I was able to understand both sides.
Yes.
And honestly, as I moved up in the rank, and the people who I led actually told me that they appreciated me and that I was a good leader because I had been enlisted. So I
Yes.
had been where they were and I understood and I could
Mm.
relate. Um, unlike, and I'm not knocking any of the
Yeah.
service, the service
Yes.
graduate, but unlike someone that's coming from the
The academy.
Naval, Academy or West Point, they don't have that, right?
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
have that experience. So I think it gave me a level of trust, respect, and credibility with those that I led because they could look at me
Mm.
and say, okay, Commander Martin, she's been where we were. So she understands, she knows how this
Mm.
side works. And it's not just about me saying, "Oh, well, I'm Commander Martin and this is what you have to
Yes.
do."
Actually, there's really a great lesson about leadership, which you do cover in your second book, right? Beyond the title, redefining what it means to lead. And I think that is so critical. But before I ask you about that, you don't have to answer this one if you don't want to. But when you are in full uniform, do you have a favorite medal or one medal that means the most to you? And if yes, which one is it and why?
Oh my goodness. That's kind of trigger for me, honestly. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
if I want
You
to get
you
into
do
it.
not have to
Yeah,
to answer that.
I don't want
Yeah.
to get into it because I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to bring negative energy, so I don't want to get into that one.
Okay. But for me, one of my the medal that really means the most to me was the Good Conduct Medal. As you know, after that we don't get that
Yes.
because we expected
Yeah.
to always conduct ourselves well. But when you are enlisted, what every three
Yes.
years, if you do well, you
Hmm.
get one. And yeah, it's one medal I had that most of my peers didn't have, and
Hmm.
it always, my godfather used to tell me, always remember where you came back from. And every time I looked at that medal, it reminded me, hey, you used to be Simon Zenga. Make sure to take
Yeah.
care of these white hats. No, you're not better than they are. No, you are not above them. You are one of them, and
Right.
lead them with excellence. So, anyway, good. Okay, so let's talk about your second book, which is literally called what Beyond the Title. So, did your Navy experience kind of help teach you that titles and leadership are not synonymous, they are not the same? Because I think in the industry sometimes people get confused. They think having a title of vice president or director or whatever makes you a leader, but that's going to be further from the truth, right?
Oh, absolutely. And not only was it the Navy, I mean, it was just life in general. I was in private sector. I worked for the federal government, all of
Yeah.
that. And it's people think that the title makes you a leader when that is totally false.
Mm,
Um, you can have characteristics or how should I say it? Qualities that may be part of leadership, but that does not make you a leader. And I think oftentimes, especially in corporate, if you're a good individual contributor or if you have seniority, you get pushed up, right, into leadership positions. And then they don't necessarily tell you how to be a leader. So just because you're the best widget maker does not mean that you should be the leader over the widget makers. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's something that people often get totally, totally
Mm.
wrong.
That's really something. And as a leader in the Navy, we do believe, right, mission first and people always. Have you ever been in a position, either as a Devo or department head or in charge of a unit or command, where the mission of the organization and really caring for your sailor came in conflict? And if so, how did you handle that? How did you balance taking care of the mission, but also taking care of your sailors?
I wouldn't say necessarily conflict because I made a choice when I became an officer that I would always take care of my people. So that's how I handle it. Because if you think about it, regardless of what that mission is, if you don't have people to
Yes,
actually complete that mission, it doesn't get done.
yes.
So that was one of my things that I said that when I became an officer, I was like, I'm always going to take care of my people.
Mm,
And that meant holding them accountable, having the standards, but it also meant caring for them as a person. And I
yes.
think it was, Maya Angelou that said, people won't remember what you said, what you did,
Mhm.
but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Yes, yes.
And that sticks with me. And I
Mm,
always wanted the people who I led to know that I genuinely cared about them. So it
yes.
wasn't like, oh, ensign, Joe Blow, I don't care anything about you, just go do this mission, or
Mm,
petty officer, do this. I wanted them to know that, yeah, we had a mission to accomplish, but
wow,
also they could come to me um, and know that I
that's
cared.
powerful. Powerful. And you don't have to answer this one also, but I am just curious. Were there a moment when being a woman or even a black woman, to be specific, in a traditionally white male institution,
Mhm.
kind of affected how you had to navigate leadership, credibility, or belonging throughout your career? Because one thing some people don't really realize is it was only in 1944, March 1944, that the first black people were allowed to become officer. Right? My dad was like 1 year old, so it's not that long ago. It's only one
Right,
generation ago. And then women didn't even start until December of that same year. So it's relatively recent for in Navy. That's about 250 years. It's only in the last 80 years or so that blacks were allowed uh,
right,
by law, by policy, to
right.
wear the uniform of a naval officer. So knowing our history, if you are willing to talk about it, I think we would like to know how you kind of had to navigate leadership, credibility, and belonging.
Oh yeah. And yeah, those first officers, the Golden 13.
Yes.
Um, but yes, definitely I had to navigate those spaces, right? So everywhere I walked into, either I was the only woman
Mm,
or I was the only woman of color. And
yes.
oftentimes being one of those two, I was often the highest ranking.
Wow.
So it's different. I've walked into rooms where I looked around and I was like, okay, I'm the only woman, or I'm the only, female officer here. And a lot of times, I had people that tried to overlook me and dismiss me like I didn't
Mm,
even exist. Um, and it always kind of throws me back to, okay, I have to show them that I belong in this room, that I'm
yes.
capable. So I had to learn how to navigate spaces like that and not lose myself or compromise who I was, but yet
Yes.
make myself seen, for lack of a better term. But
Mm,
oh
that's
yeah, I mean, yeah, the Navy, yeah, and we're a service that's rich on traditions and
yes.
cultures and things like that. But yeah, we're also a service of, yeah, of
Yeah,
not being so
you don't have to say it.
receptive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was a telepathic communication right there. I understand you. I see you. But when you have to, because as a leader, you do have to be authentic. How do leaders maintain their authenticity when they enter an environment where they may feel pressure to change themselves simply to kind of fit the mold of the culture? How did you maintain your true self?
um, yeah, you can't pretend to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
You have to be true to yourself. There's a difference. Leaders have to be adaptable, right? So you have to be adaptable and be able to know, what how to act in certain situations. But
Yes.
doing so does not mean that you totally give up yourself or twist yourself into
Mm,
something that you're not. And I think that's what leaders have to remember. You
yes.
walk into that room as your full self, knowing that I'm capable, I'm here, I belong
Mm,
here, and you hold your character. And that's what something that I always had to tell myself is, you know, I'm going to be Trina. So before Lieutenant Commander, I was Trina.
mm,
And I have the character that even today that I'm not in the uniform that I totally
yes.
pride myself by. And that's who I'm going to be. So yeah, I know how to be
That's powerful.
adaptable. I know how to lead and be able to lead all different types of people. I can talk to all types of people. I'm the introvert who, made, herself taught herself how to be an extrovert. So you have to know how to do these things, but you have to
Yes.
know how to do these things without laying down who you are.
Mm. That's really powerful. Like, I guess this is a great segue to the next segment, talking about transition, because many people have a lot of trouble transitioning from wearing the uniform to becoming a civilian all over again. I know for me, I was a lieutenant commander when the Navy first told me, "Hey, you are no longer physically qualified. We don't
Mm.
want you." And I was like, "No, no, I am a sailor. I don't know who I am if I'm not a lieutenant commander." Right? But now, today, I am on my way to retirement. I'm perfectly at peace with it. But few years ago, no, I wasn't ready to let down. It's almost like you are Superman and Clark Kent is like, I don't
Yeah.
know who I am. I guess Jerome Powell said, right, when your position is too close to your ego,
Yes.
then that is really, really difficult for so many people. So in your case, what was the hardest thing about separating your identity from your rank, from your title, from your position, and discovering who you were? You just mentioned being Trina beyond being lieutenant commander. Martin.
Oh
What
yeah.
did
The most difficult thing, like I said, 30 years, it was like I said, it was more than half my life. So I
yes.
literally grew up in the military. So yeah, it was kind of I w- you know, I didn't think I was going to feel this way, but
Mhm.
when I actually retired, like I said, I felt some kind of way. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it was when I first retired, I was like, what am I going to do now?
Mm,
I don't know what to do. Because I was so busy with, you know, doing the mission, doing all these things that I had to do to support the mission and being
mm,
lieutenant commander that when I no longer had to do that, I was going, wow, I
yes.
felt lost almost. But then I had to regroup and I said, okay, you were Trina before any of this.
Yes.
And now
Wow.
you're not lieutenant commander anymore. So who are you going to be? What
Mm,
are you going to do with your life? And
wow, that's powerful.
yeah, so that's where I am now. That's why I'm doing, the
Yes.
coaching and speaking and yeah.
Wow.
It's
Amazing. You are just amazing. All right, let's talk about your first book, right? From a mess to amazing. The title is really, I guess, it's really great for marketing. I really love that. It's unforgettable, right? So I guess the first question I have for you is, what was the mess that ultimately inspired the message of your first book?
so the mess wasn't one thing. The mess was a season for me, a season in my life. So, I am very driven. I was all about checking the boxes, the career, going up
Yes.
the ladder, making the ranks, all of these things. So, externally, I looked great. On paper, I
Mm,
looked great. But in my personal life and within me, I was a mess. So,
Wow.
that's where that title comes from. I was going through and dealing with so many different things in my personal life. I was a
Yes.
single mom. I went through a bad divorce.
Mm.
Um, just all of the things that people go through, right? That life throws
Yes.
at you. But yet, when I walked outside that door, I know how to put the mask on and,
Mm.
just act like all these things didn't exist. And then one day I sat down and I was like, yeah, you're this fabulous person on paper. People look at you, you have all the accolades and
Mm.
I'm glad of everything that I've accomplished.
Yes.
But I was like, man, I'm really in turmoil inside myself.
Wow.
Um, and that's where that came from, because I was like, well, if I can feel like this,
Mm.
being who I am, I know there's other people who feel like this, and I
Yes.
want to help them and let them know what I've gone through and to help them,
Mm.
get through where they are.
That's really powerful. And you talk about the 7 steps. And I think what's really powerful with what you just said is number one, right? You realize that something in your life has to change. But most importantly, you are the person who need to change it. Not the government, not other people,
Right.
not your commander, but you, the person in the mirror. And that is so powerful. Where do you think that resilience came from? Whether it's a bad divorce or whatever it is you are going through, but you are like, no, this is not going to define me. I can do better, and I am going to get better, and just keep pushing through. Where does that drive come from, you think?
That came from my childhood. As I stated earlier, I was the first one in my family to go to college.
Hmm.
My mom and I had a very strained relationship. So it was something that made me driven, right? It made me
Wow.
have to get to where I wanted to go. And a lot of it I did, and I had that mindset because I was trying to get away from my
Yes.
mother and home. So I was like, nope, I am going to set goals and I'm going to accomplish them no matter what, because I don't ever want to have to turn around and go back. So that made
Yes.
me be resilient. And that's not saying that I didn't make mistakes and I didn't
Mhm.
fail, but I didn't let those things keep me down, because I knew I had in my mind, and I knew that there was more for me and there was better for me. So
Mm.
that's what I wanted to get to.
Wow. Thanks again for sharing, because my first name is Bob, but really I was named after my father, Robert. When I was growing up, I didn't like Bob at all. I didn't want to have anything to do with my dad, so I went by my middle name, Fabian, pretty much my entire life. It's when I became a father that I went back to Bob, because I was like, now I understand exactly how my daddy felt. But it's just amazing how in life, sometimes, whether it's your parents, your teacher, or somebody, it's like, I want to be more like you, or I absolutely don't want to be anything like you. I want to be the
Hmm.
complete opposite. Right? The
Yes.
relationship I'm going to have with my daughter, which I have with my kids right now, completely different from what my dad had with me, because I was like, no, something isn't right here, and this doesn't look right. I need to be different. And no, from my generation, from me, my children, my grandchildren, and the future, we are going to do
Yes.
it a lot differently. It's just amazing how sometimes things affect us and help us to even get better and improving. Even maybe it's part of the reason why I've achieved so much in such a short period of time. Maybe I was trying to show my dad or prove to him
Yes.
that I could. Maybe without realizing it, that's what was happening. But anyway, it really helps as a leader to be aware of yourself, where you've been and where you are going, and of course of your surrounding and other people too. And what I like in your book is the first step you mentioned is to change your mindset, and I think that is so powerful. Why does transformation have to begin in the mind before circumstances begin to change and align to that?
Yeah, because if you don't change your mind, nothing changes.
Mm.
What you think is what you manifest, right?
Yes.
It's just one of those principles. I mean, even the Bible says, you have to renew your mind.
Yes.
And again, that's something that here within the last couple of years that I've really been working on myself, is the
Mhm.
renewing of my mind. And I've listened to and kind of learned a little bit about the NLP, neuro linguistic programming,
Programming.
and
Mhm.
and how you can basically reprogram your mind.
Yes.
And when that was like amazing. That was something I was just like, wow, really, you can, and I
Uh,
think as we talked about earlier about, people growing up in the same household, but one person takes one path, the other person
Mhm.
takes the other path. And I think those people don't understand that, yeah, you can reprogram your mind and create a whole different life. So
Yes.
that's why I had to start with that first, because
Mm,
until your mind changes, nothing else changes. What you think is what you bring about. So what you think about, you bring about. And that's why I started with that.
that's really, really powerful. And that verse in Bible, Romans 12:2, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's true. You can't really start a change unless you start with your own mind. Actually, another one of our shipmates, Vance Scott, has a question for you. He says, what is a leadership principle that you follow now that you wish you knew in your earlier years? Great, great question.
Great question. Um, I think, like I said earlier, I think the fact of I learned that I don't have to know everything. I'm not afraid
Mm,
to say, I don't know. And I'm not afraid to defer to someone else, because me deferring to someone else, and in the Navy, at that time it was a chief, does not mean that I'm weak. It does not mean that
yes.
I'm any less of a leader.
Mm,
So even now that I'm not in the military, I still will say, I don't know. And I'm not ashamed to go to someone else that I know may know that answer and who can teach me.
yes.
So that's one of the principles that I use today.
But that takes humility, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm,
because you know what? If you think that you're always the smartest person, you're never going to learn anything. And you're
so
never
true.
going to want anybody to help you. So that's where people fail.
So true. Yeah, my mentor, Dr. Maxwell, says if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. And I think
Absolutely.
that is so true. Wow. But now, the next steps, man, we're already running out of time. My goodness. I guess I won't have time to get to your second book, but I do want to talk about this second step here because I think many people, they kind of get stuck here. You say evaluate yourself, which is
Mhm.
really critical. But I think sometimes people, instead of evaluating themselves because it's uncomfortable, they tend to actually self criticize, right?
Mhm.
And so, how can someone distinguish honest self evaluation, which again, you need humility, you need honesty, but not criticizing themselves in such a way that they die by paralysis, by analysis, but where they can actually learn from their mistake and where they are now and how to actually move forward?
And and that's exactly it. You have to have grace for yourself, and I think that's where it begins, because I think everyone, and that's including me, I think we're our own worst critics, right? We talk to
Yes.
ourselves worse than what we would ever talk to anyone else, right? We would never
Yes.
tell somebody, "Oh, you're so stupid for doing that. Why did you do that? You're such a
Yes.
failure." But we say those type of things to ourselves, right? We say, "Well,
Mhm.
what? God, you're so stupid. Why did you do that?" And I
Yes.
think we have to have grace for ourselves and stop condemning ourselves and talking to ourselves like that. Yeah, you made mistakes. Yeah, you have a past. We've all had things we've done in our past that we look back on and go, you know what? If, I wouldn't do
Yes.
that again today. So I
Yeah.
think evaluating yourself and really having grace for yourself is
Powerful.
important.
Yeah, I think I heard Oprah, but she was referring to Maya Angelou again, who said, if you knew better, you would do better.
Exactly.
So really showing grace for yourself is so important. So you have 7 chapter in the book, the 7 steps. As we get toward ending the interview, which one of those chapter of those steps was the hardest one or most challenging for you to write? Or if not most challenging, maybe one that surprised you. You thought of one way when you were writing it. By the time you are done with the chapter, you had a different insight or uh,
Hmm.
view
Ooh,
of.
they all had their level of difficulty.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I
But
think,
one that surprised you, maybe.
um, let me think.
Because step one was change your mindset and then evaluate yourself, set goals, invest in personal development, build a relationship, be perfectly imperfect. I love that one. And then commit to making the change.
To be perfectly imperfect. Yeah.
Yes. Step 6.
That was, and I was thinking about this, a couple of months ago. I need to do a revised version of that book
Mhm.
because When I released that book, it was 2020, COVID had started, so it didn't get the
Yes.
publicity and the marketing that it should have. But The Perfectly Imperfect, that
Mm,
was what surprised me the most because being driven and that type A person,
yes.
um, yeah, you're not gonna be perfect. No one's perfect, but you have
Mm,
to be okay with that. Um, I always wanted to check the box. Okay, yeah, I've done this. I've,
yes.
achieved this, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it's not about checking all the boxes. It's not about waiting for that perfect time. And especially now with me, having my business of coaching and speaking and stuff, it's like, sometimes I go, well, I'll wait for this or time it. But it's like, okay, what am I waiting for?
Yes.
Just do it. Yeah, you may fail. Yeah. You may not have client
Mm,
breaking down your door, but you have to still get out there and do it. So being perfectly
wow.
imperfect is very hard to do.
That's really, really insightful and powerful because there's a difference between perfection and excellence. And yeah, I guess we might be some of the same type of people where you feel like, I have to do everything perfect, perfect, so my dad can love me. And but it's like, no, perfection doesn't exist. You will never,
Right.
never be perfect, but you can be excellent though. So there's a big difference.
Mhm.
Wow, that is powerful. So I guess as we end the show, I love the very last step, which is to commit to making the change. It seems like so many people know exactly what they need to do and
Yeah.
when they need to do it, but they always kind of struggle to just make the commitment and just do it. Like you said it, like Nike, just do it. But
Yeah.
most people, they just don't do it. Why is that?
It's difficult. It's difficult to release the familiar and go into the unfamiliar and the unknown. You know,
Yes.
um, I'm in this place and everything is working the way. I know what
Mm,
tomorrow's going to look like. I know what yesterday looks like,
yeah.
and I'm fine with that. But
Wow.
to actually make that change, you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to succeed, if you're going to fail.
Yes.
And that's difficult for people to do, to just go into that unknown.
Mm.
And I think we all should embrace that unknown and go into that.
Wow. So we are talking about the book which everybody needs to get a copy. Right now it's available everywhere books are sold. From a mess to amazing. 7 steps to create the life you deserve. So as we end the show, Commander Martin, for someone listening today who feels like their life is currently a mess, what is the very first thing you want them to do when this podcast ends today?
Um, Again, I want you to have grace for yourself.
Yes.
Pick one thing in your life that you can change.
Mm,
Not go back into your past, not, say, oh, I woulda, shoulda, coulda, not
yes.
blame someone else, but pick one thing that you can change and work on that and
Mm,
have grace for yourself. Don't continue going back to the past saying, I made this mistake. I shouldn't have done this. If I hadn't have done this, this would have happened. It's
mm.
over and it's done. So
Wow.
commit to one thing.
All right. So as we end the show, we're gonna have a last segment, which is gonna be rapid fire. I'm gonna ask a question, answer as quickly as you can, 30 seconds or less. First thing
Okay.
that comes to your mind. So you've been a soldier, a sailor, a naval officer, technology leader, entrepreneur, author, speaker, podcast host, executive coach, on and on and on. Do you have time to sleep? My goodness.
No,
Wow. So how do you define success today?
peace,
Hmm. What are you still becoming?
myself,
And what are you still afraid of?
um, failure.
So, how do you get to keep on taking action and moving forward, even though you still feel the failure? Because I feel like for most people, once they see the fear, they stop. It really freezes them, and
Mhm.
they don't take any action. Those who are successful, they do feel the fear, but they do it anyway. How do you continue to take action and move in your positive trajectory in spite of fear?
It's kind of like one of those things that I don't want to let myself down. So I've set a goal or I know I can do something. and I don't want to disappoint myself.
Wow, powerful. What is something you believe about leadership today that Lieutenant Commander Martin 15 years ago might have disagreed with?
It's not about the title. It's not about
Yeah,
the title.
there's a book. So we didn't have time to talk about this book, but everybody needs to get a copy of this book too. It's available on Amazon, Kindle. Beyond the title, redefining what it means to lead. I think if you are going to be a leader of people, you have to read that book, period. All right. So another question for you is, who are you mentoring or pouring into now?
Anyone. A lot of young people that come to me, and I try to be wise counsel for them, and hopefully impact them and move them along and give them some of my wisdom so that they don't have to go through some of the things that I went through to get the wisdom.
Really, with your book, actually, I thought it was only two. It's actually three books because you wrote a chapter, somebody else's book too.
Yeah,
So
we don't want to worry about that one.
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is you are leaving a legacy even long after you are gone. Like, no, General Powell was one of my most trusted mentors. He's no longer with us, but I can still go to his two books and still be mentored by him every
Yes.
day if I want to. And it's so powerful, just the impact or the potential impact you can have on millions and millions of people who may not even know you. It's just so powerful. So what responsibility do successful leaders have to hold the ladder down for the people climbing behind them?
Oh, I think it's absolutely necessary. I think that's what they owe to the people,
Yes.
is to help someone else up. I think as a leader, if you're not helping to develop other leaders, you're not doing your job. Because I think about Jesus. If I could sit down and be at Jesus' feet, he was like
Yes.
the ultimate leader. Not only did people trust him and follow him, he trained his disciples how to be leaders because he knew he would not be on the earth. You know, his time had a definite date of when he would go to the cross. So he trained his disciples to be leaders. So that to me is, if you're a leader, you're training other people to be leaders.
Wow, that is powerful. Dr. Maxwell, one of my primary mentors, says that if you are a leader and nobody's following you, you are just taking a walk. So
Right. You're not a leader.
yes. So when your children, your family, your sailors, your colleagues, your readers, and even the people that you coach now, your customers and audiences who listen to your keynote, someday describe your legacy, let's say 25, 30 years from today, what do you hope they say about Trina Martin?
I want them to say that I was someone who had impact on them, that I shared with them, that I taught them, coached them, whatever it may have been. But I also want them to say that I was a woman of integrity, and how I was in the military, how I was in coaching and speaking, it was how I actually was. So I want to be that person that has integrity, but I want to also impact others so that they can get to wherever they want to be.
So powerful. So we do have to end the show. As we end, what can we do to add value back to you?
Go to my website. I have a store link on my website. You can purchase either one of those books. Also, I do executive coaching and leadership development. And if you or someone you know needs executive coaching or leadership, please refer them to me. And that's how you can help me.
And the website is trinalmartin.com, easy to find, and they can purchase all of your books and everything right here. I believe it's in the store. Yeah, right there.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. And then also, of course, I want them to follow you on LinkedIn and also get the copy of your book. And of course, if even need to hire you as a coach, a consultant, or keynote speaker, they can go to your website. So that is really fabulous. So as we end the show, I have one last question for you. Before I ask you, is there something else you wanted to talk about? Any question I should have asked I didn't get a chance to ask?
No, actually, this was great. I loved it. Thank you for having me. And this was a great time. I really enjoyed your questions. They were very thought provoking.
Thank you.
And I hope I really impacted, your audience.
Absolutely. And actually, you and I, another thing we have in common is technology. I wish you had time to talk about AI and tech. I'm really a nerd when it comes to that, but we completely went out of time, which is perfectly fine. But the one question I wanted to ask you then as we close is, um, your first book teaches us how to transform ourselves from a mess to amazing, which is just great. I think anybody and everybody needs to read that. But your second challenging us to really move beyond position and beyond title and become a genuine leader, which is really caring about people and being a person of influence. So if you could leave our audience with one lesson connecting those two journeys, leading yourself first and then leading other people, what would it be?
Um, just that, learn how to, you can't be a leader until you learn how to lead yourself. And then
Yes.
once you're a leader, I think you need to gather those skills, which I think the most important skill is one is your self-awareness,
Mhm.
communication, knowing how to clearly communicate, because
Yes.
if you're a leader and people don't understand or know what they're supposed to do, then you
Mhm.
can't, hold them accountable for anything. And
Yes.
then emotional intelligence. You have to be self-aware and know how you're impacting other people.
Mm.
So, emotional intelligence. So those would be the 3 things that I
Wow.
would say a leader needs to do.
Powerful. Well, Commander, thanks a million. This has really been a great privilege and honor to be talking to you. And when all is said and done, what do you want your leadership legacy to be?
Um, I want it to be trust.
Trust. Wow. Well, my favorite mentor told me, right, rank is rented, but trust is earned. Well, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Commander. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to my audience today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be with you, and hopefully we keep in touch. But thank you for
Absolutely.
having me.
Thank you. All right, if everyone, again, make sure to go to website and you can get all of the books. I wonder if you might even be willing to sign some of the copies, but it's going to be trinalmartin.com. Go to the store and you can get a copy of a book for yourself, which is From a Mess to Amazing. And then if you are going to be leading people, you absolutely have to read the book Beyond the Title. All right, so that's it for today. I'm going to have one more interview tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I am speaking with, let me see, do I have, oh, I don't have that here, but it's going to be Dr. Brian Ruben. I was supposed to talk to him this morning, but we scheduled that to tomorrow. He has a fantastic book. I think a book he has written that he really was born to write. There are those books that are just so impactful. It's going to be released next week, and I really urge everybody to get a copy of that book. He's going to be joining us all the way from England. He's originally from Africa, like I am, and he spent a lot of time really helping a lot of organization and nonprofit lead and really develop a strategy. So one of his best-selling book is Strategy, Power, and the Courage to See First. And then the book he's writing now that's going to be released next week is Power Play. So Dr. Ruben will be with us tomorrow morning. All right, that's all I have for now. And I believe on Sunday we're going to come back and go back through the book of Proverb. I believe we're doing Proverb 27 or 28. I will send a link about it on LinkedIn. Again, not a religious podcast, but it's about the wisdom. No, wisdom and leadership lesson from a book written more than 2,000 years ago, which still is applicable today. That's just amazing. Our leadership doesn't change. It is universal. Regardless of where you come from, of your industry, those leadership principles definitely apply still today in the age of AI. All right, bye for now, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.